few weeks ago, we didn't think we even be in the same hemisphere as Georgia, and now after beating Kentucky the way we did and other things, and the DJ Lagway deep ball changes things for a lot of reasons. You gotta cover the deep ball, then a lot of other things maybe come back open underneath in the running game and some of the other screens that typically they've just been sitting on. So yeah, let's go Gators.
Yeah, let's try to go. That's all we can do is
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point.
Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios here at the Ponderosa, where I've been shacked up for a full day. I actually had to go to the emergency room yesterday. I've had major stomach problems. It turns out it's just stomach problems, and I got to start taking probiotics so everything's okay. But I was in bad shape, so that's why I wasn't on radio yesterday. If you were wondering, I will be there today. I'm fine now. We will have on our show today the great Danny Wuerffel, who any show that's got him on, talking about, I don't know, there's an argument, Danny or Timmy, as to who the better quarterback was, but I mean, they were different quarterbacks. I think Danny's the best to ever play. We'll have him on today, Coach Spurrier on Monday, and then on the following Thursday, Paul Feinbaum is going to join us. So, boom, boom, boom. Those are pretty good guests we're bringing you, as we always do, and that's why we have all these great sponsors, is because we're bringing people stuff they want to hear. I hope so. I think that's the reason. All right. Speaking of which, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five, brought to you by the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Matt Stinchcomb will be speaking this coming week on Tuesday. That'll be a great conversation to have with him. Former Georgia player, knows that program very well. And then, of course, they just had their tournament 2 days ago out at UF. Seemed to have a good time out there. But again, the Gainesville Quarterback Club starting five will happen right now. Let's go with number one. And that is to enjoy this off week. Look, the noise in the system has died down, and that's good. But we all know how fickle fans are all over the country. All over the country. Ask Mac Brown how fickle the fans are. Ask Kalen DeBoer. Well, after he beat Georgia, he was considered to be the next Saban, and now he's lost two, and everybody wants him out on a rail. I mean, it's up and down. Most coaches. I mean, there are places where you don't lose very often. But let me tell you, there are people now that want Mark Stoops out of Kentucky. There were people that when Saban would not get to the playoffs, rare times when he would want to know if the game had passed him by, stuff like that. The game didn't pass him by. He just got sick of the game that they have to play. The point is that, every fan, I've kind of had this little epiphany. I don't know if it's a big epiphany, that every fan base is pretty much the same. And Power Five. I mean, look, I know that the fan base at Eastern Washington is not the same it is in Gainesville, but the fan base at all these Power Five schools are pretty much the same. Not so much in support, but in what they will get mad at and what they are angry at. So hopefully, and I can tell you, overhearing, like when I was at Big Mills yesterday, I was listening on the side of my ear to a couple people, and they were talking about the Gator game and everything. And other places I've been, I've heard these conversations go on, and they're very positive now. Just because of one game. And that's what one game could do for you, especially when you score 48 points. Your defense picks off 3 passes. So, look, there's no reason to think Florida's going to score 48 on Georgia, okay? We know that. But just enjoy this week, because this week is a noiseless week. People aren't getting mad. People aren't saying we got to get rid of the coach. People aren't saying we got to start Lagway over Mertz. But it has been an interesting week in that regard, and that how things have kind of calmed down a little bit. But will they ratchet back up? Yeah. They go out there and they could lose 31-3 to Georgia, or God forbid, have the scoring streak snapped at 490 games or whatever it is. It's the longest one in the country. It'll come right back. I mean, it's just the way it is during a football season. You're basically, your fan base is decided by whether you won or lost. Or in some cases, whether you won and you didn't look good, but you still won, which I've never understood that concept. To me, the concept should be, if we won, we won. That's what matters. Anyway, try to enjoy this week. I'm enjoying it so far, except emergency room, but it's been a lot of fun. Just not to have to worry about it. And again, that's part of the pleasure of a bye week, and to have two in a season is great. I think they should build in two anyway. You know, you're talking about, and think about all the injuries that are going on in college football and pro football too, but it's a violent game. So why not give them 2 bye weeks? Why not start the season a week earlier? I mean, you're already starting it a week earlier for some teams, the week 0 game. So why not start it a week earlier? And then the argument used to be that school had to start it. Look, it's irrelevant whether school started or not. You know that now. So I would say start the season a week earlier and go ahead and let them have 2 different weeks where they can kind of heal up and, you know, rest up and do whatever they need to do. It'll be interesting to see how much Florida has, if they did the same thing they did last time during their bye week, which was to practice really hard during the bye week. They may not need it as much now, but they may say, hey, look, we did it last time. It worked great. Let's try it again. So we'll see what happens there. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Gainesville Quarterbacks Club starting 5, which is, this is how physical Florida played Saturday night against Kentucky. Go look at Kentucky's injury list. They have to supply those every Wednesday night now. Of course, Florida doesn't because they're not playing. But the injury list for Kentucky is like, oh, yeah, that guy's good. He's out. He's doubtful. He's questionable. It's all their really good players. I think Deion Walker's on that list. Both the running backs are on that list. Florida physical Kentucky into a real issue, which is amazing. We haven't seen that out of Florida for a while. So that is a good sign. Now, again, you're going to go play Georgia next week, which is, you just saw how physical and fast they can be when they put their mind to it. And I do think Georgia is one of those teams that sleepwalks through some games. And they've done that in the past, but they always usually find a way to win. And the Georgia game, the Alabama game was a game they probably could have won. They took the lead after just a terrible first half. So, look, Georgia's really good still. And Florida's going to be probably 18-point underdog, but we'll see. As Danny Wuerffel said, or will say, let's go. Because he's competing with Georgia in this, you know, the Desire Cup, which is one reason we're having him on today. All right. So I wanted to talk about that. All right. Number 3 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. My wife, Karen, said to me last night, she goes, man, there aren't too many good games this week. I go, oh, no, I don't agree with you on that. First of all, there's always good games. It's just a matter of which games turn into good games. You don't even know. For example, Georgia, Texas, to me, was a crappy game. Now, going into it, I was fired up for it. Crappy game. Alabama, Tennessee followed the exact same pattern as Florida, Tennessee did. And you kind of could see it all coming, but it was a good game. But this week, we do have 5 ranked on ranked. Now, I don't take ranked on ranked as seriously this time of year because Vandy snuck into the rankings and I think that was because we want to make this Texas Vanderbilt game more interesting. Let's have them both be ranked. Because why would the AP voters not have them in and then they barely beat Ball State and you put them ranked? So, but they did. I guess maybe they were the next one up receiving votes, RV as we like to call it, because Florida lists any team that they're playing and they list it in their schedule, and it'll say Alabama, RV Alabama, and nobody can ever figure out what it means, except I finally figured it out. Jeff Cardozo asked me that Tuesday. He says, "What does RV mean?" I go, "Receiving votes." I don't know why they stick that in there. At one point, there was a headline that says RV Georgia beats Florida and pass it bad. Maybe it was some other sport. Anyway, that's not even the point. But there are a lot of really good games this weekend. I think it's a good weekend for football, and we know better. We know that at some point we're going to go, hey, do I get this channel because I don't want to jinx it, but I think this is happening. I think this team is beating this team. And where can I find that? I got to be able to find it somewhere. That's why you have multiple TVs are crucial. If you don't have them, you need them. I would say a minimum of 2 for football season. You can take, in fact, if your wife has one in the bedroom, take that one and put it in your office and say, look, you get it back in December. I kind of did that. I got all 3 TVs I had were originally somewhere else. And when somebody else got a new TV, I go, hey, I'll just take that one. So I put it in here. They're all working. That's a great part of it. But it is going to be a fun weekend. There are a lot of great games. We'll get to the swamp games of the weekend in just a little bit. Let's go to number 4 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, and that is Rex Grossman was named our SEC legend at Florida, which I'm curious why he had not been. I'm just doing the math. He would have been out for 23 years. Why it took so long. Now, I know there's people that you have to honor and everything, but Rex Grossman should be up there, should have a statue up there. In fact, maybe I'll go carve one and put it up there because he should have won the Heisman, obviously, in 2001. Eric Crouch won it with his 4 completed passes. Grossman had a great year, but since they lost to Tennessee, he's out, Crouch was a quarterback on a team that was playing for the national title, so he wins it. But anyway, Rex should have a statue up there, but you can't do anything about that. But he is a legend, and that is cool. Sexy Rexy. Texas has got Vince Young, and Oklahoma has Barry Switzer. And of course, there are a lot of people who are saying, what do they have to do with the SEC? Well, nothing. But you can't, if you're going to bring teams in, they have to be part of this legends thing. They have to be part of the honorees. And who are they going to take? The teams that played in the SEC? They played 7 games in their lives. That's not going to work. You have to take history, and it's kind of cool. Barry Switzer will be there, and Vince Young, I assume. But Rex being there is the biggest story. In fact, I'm excited about that. It's almost enough to make me go all the way up there and say hello to him. Rex is very hard to get a hold of. I've wanted to get him on the podcast a couple of times, but he's very difficult. He's kind of I don't want to say he's a hermit, but he's kind of retreated out of the limelight is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Yeah. Okay, and number 5 on our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5, the passing of Fernando Valenzuela. I don't want to say it hit me hard. I'm not a Dodger fan. In fact, I rooted against Fernando Valenzuela because he was pitching a lot of those games against the Yankees, against the Braves. But he was legendary. And I will tell you this, you youngsters out there weren't around for Fernando Mania. It was the damnedest thing I ever saw in my life. You would sit and watch the Dodgers play, and you'd watch the whole game because he was pitching. With the whole eyelids thing from Bull Durham came from Fernando Valenzuela. The way he would look away and then come back, and he had this notorious screwball. This is how great Fernando Mania was. I'm pretty sure the first 9 starts he had, he threw 9 complete games. And his ERA was 0.5. Oh, that is mania right there. But to hear that I knew he was in ill health. There was a great, and you can find it, I'm sure, 30 for 30, I believe it was, on him and what Fernando Mania was back then. And it just galvanized this entire community of Latino people that live in that area. And he was great, man. He was something. And I was really sad to see that he's passed away. And, like I said, unfortunately, a lot of people that I grew up watching, or again, wasn't rooting for him, but it's like, remember the Linsanity? This was like Linsanity on steroids. Linsanity was a good story. It was a fun story for a season. Fernando went up for a while, and not only that, but he was just so bigger than life. It was pretty amazing. So really sad to hear about it, and our prayers are going to be with him. All right, that's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. Again, if you want to be a member of the Gainesville Quarterback Club, all you got to do is call. All you gotta do is call, and I'll be there. Yes, I will. Just give us a ring, and we'll get you hooked up. And there's some great guests coming: Matt Stinchcomb, Jacob Hester, several other guys. I think Jimbo Fisher is going to try to make up for not being here the time when he wasn't there, and I had to fill 30 minutes with Rodney Dangerfield jokes. Well, it was still fun. I liked it. Hey, I tell you, I can go all day. The other day, I went to the bar and I got a drink. I said, "Hey," he says, "What do you want?" I said, "Hey, he surprised me. He showed me a naked picture of my wife." All right, that's going to do it for our Gainesville Quarterback Club starting 5. We'll be back with the great Daniel Wuerffel and talk to him about NIL, talk to him about Desire Street, talk to him about Graham Mertz as well, DJ Lagway. We'll talk to him about whatever we feel like talking to, and we will play yes, no, way, or maybe with him, as we always do on this segment. We'll be back with that and more here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great pleasure to bring in a guy who's got a statue out front of the swamp, and that is young Danny Wuerffel. Does anybody ever call you Daniel? Does your mom or dad ever call you Daniel when they get mad at you?
Well, you just called me young Danny Wuerffel, so I don't get called that too much anymore. So I appreciate that. Daniel,
everybody's young compared to me, Danny.
yeah, Daniel was not something I usually heard much. My daughter calls me Daniel Carl now. She doesn't like something I did, so I've moved to where it's not my parents scolding me; it's my daughter.
Jeez, how old is she now?
My daughter is a sophomore. She's almost turning 16 in November. And so, yeah, she's doing great. We have another son who's a senior in high school. And then my oldest son is a junior at Florida.
Yep, he is, Jonah. Yep. And he's doing great stuff down here. I know that. Does he ever get hassled about his last name? Are you related to that guy?
You know, he hears it from like people that work on campus or teachers. But like the students, once again, I'm not young Danny, so I don't think the students know who I am. But it's more the adults, parents, and now grandparents that he knows that know me.
You mean that old fossil that played quarterback here?
Right.
All right, let's talk about the Desire Cup, which is coming up, obviously, next week. And how many years have you been doing this?
This is the 14th one we're doing this year. It's just been super exciting way to kind of combine the thrill and excitement of college football, the rivalry with the Florida Georgia game, along with, my passion for the work that we do at Desire Street, helping so many families in difficult situations. And it's been a great time to get people together, have fun, compete, and raise some money. So it's been fantastic.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure you got a full field, but what's it been like for you this year? Has it been any more of a struggle or any more challenging?
Nope. I think it's going well. Unfortunately for us, the Thursday night before the Florida Georgia game happens to be Halloween.
It
So,
does.
especially people that have young kids, they tend to have their duties at home. So I do think we're having a little bit of participation lack because of that. But we do have, we're excited. We're doing this thing called the 19th hole, where even if you can't attend, you can support the event and you can make a donation. And this year is actually a competition, because everything is a competition, Pat, between
Sure.
Florida and Georgia. And so you can make a donation on behalf of your favorite team, and whoever raises the most money will win the 19th hole. And for all you Gator fans out there who think we don't have a great chance to beat Georgia in football, this is your chance to beat Georgia at something. So desirecup.com, 19th hole, pledge for the Gators. Let's win.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great cause. And I mean, I want to talk to you a little bit about where you are with all that, because I know you went through a tough time with the hurricane that came through a while back, and you guys had to kind of run for your lives to go to Fort Walton to get away from it. And but I mean, everything is settled down now, and you're still doing great work, right?
Yep. So our headquarters are here, based out of Atlanta, and our mission really is to develop thriving and sustainable ministries and work in under-resourced neighborhoods. And so right now we're finishing a 5-year plan to impact 20 neighborhoods over the last 5 years, and we're about to reach that goal. And so really, if you think about tough neighborhoods in the southeastern United States predominantly, where you have like some heroes that are doing phenomenal work with kids and families, but they just don't have the connections, the resources, training, the support. I am largely who I am, and I have a statue in front of the swamp because of the overwhelming amount of support and coaching that I got and helped me accomplish that. And so Desire Street now supports, coaches, develops other organizations, and we're finishing up impacting 20 neighborhoods over the past 5 years. So it's been a
Wow.
tremendous run. I've been working there and volunteering there since 1997 when I was a rookie with the Saints. So this is just such a part of who I am in my life.
I remember being at that first game where you played some of the game, and they announced you were going to start the next one. And I was like, well, that's a good time for me to come here. It's great. I get to come to New Orleans and see Danny play.
There you go. There you go.
It was interesting. That was an interesting time for you, and to go through all the stuff you did, and to be affected that way, by Katrina, by all the other stuff that happened there. And then you end up in Washington playing for Steve again, which was weird. I remember the first game they played, Shane started and the kicker got hurt, and they said, can anybody kick? And you said, you raised your hand because you wanted to get in, right?
I just wanted to play.
There, and he kicked it about 20 yards. But
well, let me defend myself there. I was ready to boot that sucker down the field, and at the last second, the special teams coach panicked. He said, well, just hit a low line drive squib kick to the right.
Oh.
Which, that's more like, instead of just hitting your drive into somewhere, it's like hit a perfect pitch over here to the spot. So anyway, I tried to do that, but I missed it and went left. And you know who had contain on the kickoff on the left side? Chris Doring.
Oh, well, you're done.
So then I had to make the tackle down the sideline. So anyway, there you go. There's
a reason why Doring didn't last longer in the NFL.
Yeah,
and he couldn't play special teams. You got to play special teams if you're gonna be a mediocre player, right? In the NFL.
Oh.
Now, well, I mean, he's a mediocre NFL player, not a mediocre college player. I already got crap from Ricky Natile the other day. I was at the '84 championship thing. They had a golf tournament, and Ricky the Rocket was there. And he saw me, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Only sports writer who still thinks Doring had a better career than I did," and walked away. And I'm like, "What do you want?" I mean, I think he did. I'm sorry.
Yikes! Yeah, tough duty.
Yeah, it is. I did want to ask you about your pickleball. You're technically a professional now, right? Because you got drafted.
Yeah, it's a little bit pickleball in the pro world. It's almost funny to say that. It's like, I'm pro at rock, paper, scissors, but no, pickleball is a real thing. It's an amazing sport. And it's a little bit like pro golf, where you have the pros who are like the best of the best in the world. And then you have the senior pros for people that as you get 50, there's a whole nother level to compete. And since I'm not young Danny anymore, I am 50. So I am playing on the senior pro National Pickleball League tour. We just finished our season this last weekend in Cincinnati, and my team got 4th out of 12. So our team did well, play for Denver, and just had a phenomenal, exciting, fun time being a part of the National Pickleball League.
Well, it's really cool that you've gotten into that. I mean, I used to do it back when it was beach paddle tennis back in the old days, but I used to play a lot of it. But once you get the two artificial knees, it's kind of hard to do that anymore. Speaking of knees, I wanted to talk to you about Graham Mertz, because I know you've been kind of a mentor to him, and his look, everybody wants DJ Lagway to play well, and everybody wants to see him out there. But I think the Gator Nation as a whole is still really sad that Graham's done for the year and what he's done for his career, and it makes us all kind of depressed.
I think we live in a day and age where people forget that two things can be true at the same time. Like, it's always either this or that, or you like this person or this person, or this party or this party. But I really love the way that the Gator Nation, one, is excited about DJ. I mean, who wouldn't be? He's a tremendous player and a fine young man. And Graham Mertz is a very unique, wonderful young man who just did an outstanding job as a quarterback for the Florida Gators in a weird time. And he's like a relic of the past. He's probably one of the few guys that started his career before NIL. I think he's one of the few people that truly, truly loves the university. He loves being a Gator, a tremendous leader. I really expect great things for him, whatever happens for the rest of his football career and beyond. And, I've got to meet him and just very, very impressed with who he is as a young man. So sad for him how that went down, but kind of fitting. He hurts his knee, he keeps playing, he throws a touchdown, and that'll be his last play as a Gator, and just hope the best for him.
What was the worst injury you ever had when you were at Florida?
I got my knee torn meniscus and partially torn ACL my freshman year against Florida State. I started that game and then hurt that, had surgery, and missed the rest of the year. Terry Dean then played in the SEC game and the Sugar Bowl, which then led to him being the kind of undisputed starter going into my sophomore year. So that was the worst one. I had some shoulder bang-ups along the way, but mostly it was the knee.
I've talked to other quarterbacks about this playing under Spurrier, and they said the reason that the offense was always so good is you guys threw all the time. I mean, you were just always throwing, and in fact, Doug threw his arm out at one point, had to miss an SEC title game. But I mean, you guys, that's the way to get good at throwing the ball, is just keep throwing it.
I mean, yes, and throwing it specifically to the right spot at the right time. The reps of like people are like, man, how could you hit those corner routes and those fade routes like just perfect? And it was like, well, I mean, we threw 7,000 of them yesterday, and we threw 5,000 more today, and like literally, I need a shoulder replacement now, largely because of all those reps that we did. But that's what got us great. I mean, I remember getting to the NFL, and they're like, okay, we're going to run a corner route. I'm like, okay, where's his breaking point? Where's the depth? Where is he going to catch the ball? And they're like, well, he's just going to take a high angle and then you throw him to get open. And it's like, I mean, that may work on a few things here and there, but like the amount or the lack of just pure reps of throwing individual routes, I think it just shows across the board. That's part of what made Coach Spurrier unique and different and successful.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I did want to ask you about the other team that you almost went to. And can you believe that FSU goes 13-0 one year and they're 1-6 this year? And I don't see many more wins coming for them. But that's the world of the portal and NIL, and it almost feels like a lot of teams are going to be on these highs and lows. Man,
that is scary. I mean, I'm doing my best to try to have some empathy, but there's a part of me that's just sort of happy. But my sister went to Florida State, so hopefully she's not watching this podcast. She'll give me a hard time. But no, I mean, lots of friends and family are big Florida State fans, and I do feel bad for them. I mean, they're just in a real tough spot, but that is the world we live in. I think the ups and downs can go quick. Your roster can just be gone quickly, which I think they got to have some sort of more contracts and some sort of commitment to go along with the transfer portals and NILs, but hopefully they'll get that situated here soon.
Yeah, that's what people keep coming to me and going, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Well, you could do it, but it doesn't mean everybody else is going to do it. And that's going to put you at a disadvantage. So it's got to be a united front, whatever we come up with to kind of tamper down some of these things. But I don't know if that's going to ever happen because everybody's out for themselves right now. The players are out for themselves. The agents are out for themselves. The coaches, are out for themselves. Everybody's out for themselves. But that's, like you said, the world we live in. Which
is a bummer because, if you actually go back and look at intercollegiate sports and sort of the reason behind it, there's a lot of evidence that shows that they were literally trying to educate people. And back then it was predominantly young boys. And they're like, how do we teach these boys things that you can't learn in a classroom? And they're like, well, on the battlefields of athletics, competing, you learn these things. And one of the main things you learn is it's not about you. And when life gets tough, you keep going and you have a commitment to your team. And so it's almost like a lot of the reasons intercollegiate sports was even started is being, just pushed away. And I will say, I did want to take a moment to use that as a plug. There is a coach, I think, that is doing a better job than any other coach I've known at developing young men. And that coach is Billy Napier. And I am very impressed with Savannah and the Gator Made program and all the things that they're doing. And in spite of all this, to develop young men. And I do think it shows you've got a team that's had some really tough breaks this year, and they have held together. I mean, you see the way this team is united, it really shows. So anyway, shout out to Coach Napier for being super successful at that part.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think all of us agree. He is doing everything right, except for on the field, they're just not winning enough games, and he's going to have to find a way to do that. But I'm a big believer in what he's doing and how, like you talk about Gator Made. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are going to go through school and transfer 4 times and not get their degrees, end up on the streets someday. Whereas you feel like all the kids that are coming through here are going to be put in a better situation going forward in their lives. They're not going to spend all their NIL money on cars. They're going to do things right. They got them investing in real estate and things like that, which is smart.
Man, yeah, it's very impressive. So yeah, I hope Gator Nation, in the midst of our appropriate frustrations with the lack of wins, also takes a moment to be grateful for all the things that the university does for all the students, and that the especially here we're talking about the football team.
What kind of value would you have had as an NIL player?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a part of the ranks of all the old guys that are a little crusty about how all this has gone down. But you know what? I'm a really blessed guy in so many ways, and so super grateful.
Yeah, you don't even get that old money that they're going to give everybody, because you had to. It's 2016 and later is where that money's going to go to.
Well, I hadn't even heard of that. What's that?
Oh, that's that settlement they had, that $22 billion settlement. That money's all going to go to current players and players who played in 2016 or later, not 1996 or later.
Yeah, yeah. They'll get to us. It'll be like a Big Mac, small fry, and a car to the bowling alley.
That's true. I think it will. All right. Danny Wuerffel's coming to us, as you know, on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, and it's time for us to play yes, no way, or maybe with him. We got 3 questions for you, Danny. Just a yes, no way, or maybe. You can expound on your answer as well. I will tell you that I ate lunch yesterday at Big Mills Cheesesteak. I had a cheesesteak, and I got free fries with my order because I mentioned another Dooley Noted podcast, and you can do that. Just walk in, say, hey, I'd like a cheesesteak or hot dog or whatever you want. And I listened to Danny Wuerffel on another Dooley Noted podcast. You get free fries with your order. Okay.
Okay. Here's my question before you do your questions. As a replacement for all the NIL I missed, can I get a free cheesesteak?
Yeah, I'll make sure you get a free cheesesteak.
All right. There we go. All right. All things is back.
Although as good a shape as you're in, you're probably going, well, it's a little thick for me, but you know.
Oh no, I would hit one of those for sure.
We'll get you a cheesesteak. We'll mail it up to you. How about that?
I'll come down there and get it.
Okay. All right. Number one on yes, no, may, or maybe. Yes, no way, or maybe with Danny Wuerffel. A lot of W's in there to get to. All right. Number one, you have done the Heisman pose on the pickleball court.
Well, I'm starting with maybe because I can't, but I think it's a no. I think it's a no way. I don't think I've done that.
Well, now you got it in your mind, so you need to do it. Next time you win a match.
There you go. Strike the pose, baby.
Yeah, but I mean, when have you ever done the pose?
Sometimes for pictures or sometimes really to be funny. Most of the time though, it's if you know you're, especially if you're with the other Heisman guys, everybody always wants you to kind of do that, show that. You know, Johnny Rodgers is the best, man. He's like, I think he sleeps in the pose. He's always ready.
He and Desmond.
Yeah.
Where is your Heisman now? Is it?
It is downstairs here at the house. It's been at Spurrier's some time, and we'll actually be taking it to the Desire Cup here soon and have it on display there as well. That's
great. That's great. It's kind of like having a Masters jacket, man. You just want to walk around in all the time.
Just heavier.
Number two on yes, no, way, or maybe, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. You have had chicken and Wuerffels at Spurrier's restaurant.
I had the chicken. I didn't have the Wuerffels. Went through the brunch line, had the chicken, but I didn't have the waffle.
Okay. I just wanted to see because it's named after that. That was one of the ones I gave him, and I gave him this, that, and the other too. I said, you got to put this, that, and the other. I don't know what you care what you make it, but since you say that all the time,
there you go.
He dropped one of those this, that, and the others on me Monday in our podcast too. So I don't know what he was talking about. All right. Finally, on yes, no, where, maybe with Danny Wuerffel, Florida wins 2 more games and becomes bowl eligible this season.
Yes. We're going to find 2. I don't know which 2. My guess would be Ole Miss FSU, but you just never know. You know, it's just fun to have a little bit of excitement and hope. I think these last 2 games, the way that they played, really have turned some heads. You know, with you know, who a few weeks ago we didn't think we even be in the same hemisphere as Georgia, and you know, now after beating Kentucky the way we did and other things, and you know, the DJ Lagway deep ball changes things for a lot of reasons. You gotta cover the deep ball, then a lot of other things maybe come back open underneath in the running game and some of the other screens that typically they've just been sitting on. So let's go Gators.
Yeah, let's try to go. That's all we can do is and I like you said, I think, look, we're going to hear from the squeaky wheels, right? That's why we have a radio show 5 days a week. We're going to hear from those guys. But I think the majority of the Gator Nation is they want to see what he can do here down the stretch. What he can't do is go for 5. You know, that's not going to be good. So you got to win a couple games. And if you do that and get to a bowl, I think everybody will say, okay, we got Lagway. We're going forward. These young players are playing really well, and they're all going to be sophomores and juniors next year. Be a pretty good team.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, you know, I think that, you know, the X factor here is DJ Lagway, not just as a player, but he's the type of player that attracts other players. So, you know, him having a good finish to this year, him being excited about being a Gator, I think those are important things. Again, not just because who he is, but because who will want to be there with him. And so I think, you know, the recruiting and the transfer portal are going to be big this year. And so, let's go DJ. Let's go Gators.
All right, Danny, we appreciate your time. Anything else? What is again the email address or to make any donations?
Yeah, the Desire Cup. If you want to help us out with the work we're doing at Desire Street, a great way is through the desirecup.com website, and you can make a donation on behalf of the Gators, and then we can beat Georgia at least in that fundraising competition. So desirecup.com.
Yeah, well, I'm always in favor of beating Georgia, so we'll get our checkbook out and send you some money, okay?
I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
All right, Danny, we appreciate you. We'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Really appreciate Danny for being on. Usually hit him once a year right around this time, and it's always good to talk to him. And, you know, I did not know the kickoff story. All I know is that Danny volunteered to kick off, and then he shanked it. But it turned out it was supposed to hit it. He was supposed to do that. Okay, that's good to know. All right, let us go to our fun stuff in our third segment. We always do this stuff then. And we'll start off with our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville firm here for your needs in family law or workers' compensation. Call or text Ken and Jennifer 24/7 at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke, nearly 50 years of combined legal experience and about to celebrate their 5th anniversary in January. We appreciate the great folks at Hesser and Kipke. All right, let's get to Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. Number 1, I don't know if you stayed up and watched it last night. I did, which is kind of sad because you wouldn't think anybody would want to stay up and watch an 0-6 Kennesaw State team, but I did, and they beat 5-0 Liberty. So Liberty, sorry, but your chances of getting the at-large bid that goes to the group of 5 is pretty much done. That's a bad loss. Kennesaw was 0-6 going into the game. I think they were the last team without a win in not Power 5, but FBS. I think they were. Now they have one. And they won that game 27-24. The fans stormed the field. I don't know if they have fines in that league. They're in the Sun Belt, right? I think. The fans stormed the field, but they put a second back on the clock. And they had to get off the field, and then they stormed it again. I don't know where those goalposts are. But congratulations to them. That was pretty cool that they won that game. Because as I turn it on, I'm like, let me wait till this gets ugly. I'll watch it till it gets ugly. I had another game on the other TV. And basketball on the third TV, so I was set. But I stayed with it. All right, so that was the big story last night. Number 2, Grayson McCall, the quarterback who, of course, was so good at Coastal Carolina and transferred to NC State, has had multiple concussion issues, other injuries. He announced today that he is retiring from football. He's done. He's going to start his career as a coach. And I get it, man. There comes a time when if you're smart, you'll get out. If you're dumb, you'll keep going, and maybe you end up like Junior Seau or somebody like that. So I think when you've had these concussions, and you're a marginal NFL player at best anyway, I think that comes into it. You aren't going to go off and play in the UFL, and be a quarterback and get where they don't have the same kind of medical care, I'm sure, I don't know what kind of medical care they have. They have an ambulance. But the bottom line is I'm proud of him for doing that. I will say this, Grayson McCall was the guy I wanted Florida to get in the portal. And when they ended up getting Mertz, that's one reason I was among those people. I said, Mertz, God. I was wrong on that. And Grayson McCall has not been great either lately. And again, all these injuries he's had are part of it. But sad to see him leave the sport. He was fun to watch, but he's retiring from football, and he's going to become a coach, and I think he'll be a great. So that is number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to number 3, and that is 2 Gators have made the cut for the final 50 on the Hall of Fame voting. Not surprisingly, Fred Taylor should be in. For some reason, people don't want him in, and Lomas Brown should be in, but he hasn't been able to get in either. They're both still on the ballot. But you got a lot of newcomers coming, and they tend to knock people down a notch. Whether they make it or not, I don't know. I'm not in that room. Should they both make it? I think so. I'm prejudiced in that way. Fred Taylor you look at his stats, and it's ridiculous that he's not in. And Lomas Brown, again, he played for a lot of losing teams, and I think that's one reason he's not in. He does have a Super Bowl ring. But the interesting part, of course, to me, is that if they both got in somehow, we have to put them both in the Ring of Honor, which I'm all in favor of. Now, I got to be honest with you here. Does Fred Taylor deserve to be on the Ring of Honor for what he did at Florida? Probably not. I mean, he was one of 3 backs. And then in 97, he got the ball most of the time. Terry Jackson hurt his knee. Eli had moved to defense. But I don't know that his numbers are Hall of Fame worthy. Scored the winning touchdown against FSU. I don't know. Ring of Honor worthy, I'm talking about. Definitely they're Hall of Fame worthy because you look at the numbers and it's ridiculous. I mean, he's like 5th all the time in rushing, something like that. I think I'm close on that. And then, of course, Lomas. We all know how I feel about Lomas, the best offensive lineman to ever play here, and can't get in the Ring of Honor unless they put him in the Hall of Fame, which just seems so dumb, really dumb. That needs to be changed. I'll go do it. And I did want to mention this too, by the way. I'll make it Hesser and Kipke 4 things, because Steve Russell announced yesterday he's retiring at the end of the year. Of course, I've done many shows with him. We used to have our own show together on the old 97X at that little apartment complex that we used to have it. I don't even know what office building, whatever it was. And so that's why it came to mind. Maybe I can get more influence. Maybe I can take over what he's doing, but I don't want to work that hard. I think we all know that. Anyway, so good luck to Steve on that. But he's been talking this up for months and months and finally pulled the trigger. And I get it, man. I get it. Hopefully he can retire better than I did, because I haven't retired well at all. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 4 things today. And let's move along to our Leonardos and Milhopper quick picks. We're going to give you 2 again. And look, I want to get some qualifiers, and you guys aren't doing great. Because we're ready to go ahead and make a pull on probably next week, probably Georgia week. So just get one of these right, okay? Just get one, and I'll qualify you. Missouri is getting 13.5 points at Alabama. Now, that seems like a lot of points, but Missouri tends to play to the level of its competition, except the game they lost. But for the most part, they just, you saw the game against who they played last week. I can't remember who they played last week. Missouri, and it was Auburn. Yeah, and Auburn had them beat 17-3, and all of a sudden their quarterback comes out of the hospital and leads them to victory. They find ways to win games. So there's no way I would bet Alabama and giving 13.5 points. I would not do that. The other game is also a big, huge spread, so you got to really think it through. Texas is giving 18.5 points, and they're going to Vanderbilt. Now, we know going to Vanderbilt's no big deal. You'll have more fans than they do. Maybe, well, you would think maybe they're going to get excited. We're ranked. Well, let's go to the game. Well, Texas already bought those tickets up. Now, you might be able to get them in resale because maybe there'll be Texas fans that go, I don't need to go there. But that's not what's going to happen. Texas fans are going to say, man, we get to go to Nashville and watch our team play. They're going to be there. So, but would I take 18.5 points in Vanderbilt, a team that is ranked in 5-2 on the year? Yeah, I'd take that in a heartbeat. So we'll see how that works out for both those teams. So that's what you've got. You got Missouri plus 13.5 at Alabama, and you got Texas minus 18.5 at Vanderbilt. Let's move along to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. And Adams is, of course, a great place to go get your barbecue, man. It is the best. It is incredible. The ribs are awesome. I like to get the turkey sometimes, though, because I like that sauce with the turkey. Oh, yeah, it's good. Good stuff. All right, Adams Gator of the Week, and that is Paula Friend. I think it's Francisco. It could be Francesco, but I think it's Francisco. She played really well in the it was at West Point, Mississippi, the Alley it's called, and Florida won it again. They won it 2 years in a row, and she finished tied for third, but 3 straight rounds under par, 3 straight 70s at 2 under. So she was really the emphasis for them. She also had an eagle on a hole early in the match and kind of got the momentum going the right way for Florida. So Paula Francisco, you are our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. Let us move along to our Hugh Cain Mayhem moment.
The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today.
All right, well, this I know was a mayhem moment for a lot of people because this dunk by Brandon Miller, I'm sure that this was earlier this week. All of you Charlotte fans were getting pretty excited about that. Now, I don't know how many fans there are, but and certainly the game was in Houston, but I'm sure Charlotte fans who are watching this game are doing one of those, screaming and yelling. So it was a mayhem moment. That is a nice dunk. He is a nice player. They just don't have enough of him. Boom. That looked like me in the old days. That is our Hugh Cain Allstate mayhem moment. We appreciate Hugh Cain Allstate for being a major sponsor here. We'll move next. And again, we got a lot of sponsors and a lot of stuff to get to, but we'll get to it all. We love that we have all these sponsors. They are making my life a lot easier. Let's go to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week, brought to you by Gallo Car Wash. You can go to either one of those, and they're popping up everywhere. I think Tioga, they're about to have one. So maybe I'll take my car out there and get it washed. But our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week is an unusual one. It's Bradley Beal. You know why? He had all these injuries, missed so much time last year, but he didn't let it go to waste. He sat there like a sponge and just kept taking everything in with his new teammates. So last night starts the season. What does he do? 8 for 12, 24 points. They won in overtime against the LA Clippers, and Brad Beal was pretty good. So he is our sponge of the week because he soaked up a lot of info to get ready for this season. And he needed to because, I mean, that big contract he has, you got to be able to fulfill it. And you're going to get paid either way. It's all guaranteed money. Most of it's guaranteed money in the NBA, but you want to live up to your contract. You don't want everybody saying, oh, well, what about that guy? He got all that money, didn't do anything. So anyway, that is our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. Let us move to our next thing, which is This, That, and the Other. This, That, and the Other is brought to you by Ironwood Golf Course, by Dorshakow Insurance, and by Ballyhoo Grill. We were in there just the other night, had a good time, as we always do there. This, That, and the Other. Let's start with this, and that is that the Celtics last night raised a banner again, their 18th one between them and the Yankees. Man, it gets old. But, I mean, it's not like they haven't won any modern ones. They won it last year. They won it with the big three. So they've won even after Bird, even after Russell. But they raised their 18th banner on Tuesday night. Yes, I think. All right. Now, that part is that, well, the Knicks are coming to town, though, and the Knicks with all these improvements they made, they're saying, the Knicks are saying, this is going to be a good test to see where we are, how good we are. Big test. And the other is that the Celtics won 132 to 102. That wasn't a test. You flunked the test. And they made 29 threes in a row. And they missed their last 13 threes. Horford made the last three, made the 29th free that tied the all-time NBA record. But then they kept jacking up threes because they were wanting to break the record, and they were way ahead, and they took bad shots and missed. So you got to let threes come to you. You don't force them. The only time you force them is there's 1 second on the clock in the whole game, and you can't pass it. You got to shoot it. That's the only time you force the three, in my opinion. That is this, that, and the other. Again, brought to you by Ballyhoo, by Ironwood, and by Dar Shackout Insurance. Let us move next to our UF Surf Club, the University of Florida Surf Club upset alert. And I did talk to them about what they're doing. And again, their motto, the Florida Surf Club, is surfing the state since '78. That's a great motto. Okay. But yeah, they just competed in the National State Sports Surfing Association. It's NSSA. I'm assuming it's National State Surfing Association. I'm going to go with that. Okay. But they finished third in that last weekend, beat FSU, beat UCF. That away. Anytime you beat FSU is good. We're all happy about you. So we'll give you the, and by the way, if you guys want to contribute to the Florida Surf Club and help them with their expenses, you can do that by emailing them at ufsurftreasurer@gmail.com, ufsurftreasurer@gmail.com. And if you want to help them out, just some surfer boys out there having a fun. Not skater boys, or surfer boys. Okay. So our upset alert, here's what I'm putting on upset alert. And that is Arkansas. Now, you have to be a touchdown favorite for me to consider that a real upset. You're favored by 2. That's not right. Florida didn't upset Kentucky last week. They beat them at home, and they beat them as 2-point underdogs. This would be an upset because Arkansas has got to go to Mississippi State, and they're 6-point favorites. So I barely got it to a touchdown. That's a touchdown, right? And Mississippi State's playing better. They stay in all these games. It's pretty incredible. But they can't finish them. And if they can ever finish one, and I think this may be the week they do, because Arkansas, I don't know where they're heading. They seem to be not heading in the right direction. That's for sure. So that is our Florida Surf Club upset alert. We give that to you every Thursday. Let's move along to our final thing of the day, and that is our Swamp Restaurant. Games of the weekend. I saved it for last because I got a lot of things to talk to you about. But we love the Swamp. We'll be out there. I think we'll be out there next Thursday. So come on out and see us out at the Swamp Restaurant over there on 2nd. All right. Let me just give you, some of this may not make any sense, but I'm going to give it to you quickly. Friday night, tomorrow night, Boise at UNLV. That's a good game because that is that you're talking about the potential for a playoff bid there. And the loser, it's like a loser leaves town game. But you got to stay up late. It's 10:30 on CBS Sportsnet. But I think it's going to be a really good game. 2 really good offenses. Let's give you the state game of the week on the Swamp games of the weekend. And that would obviously be FSU at Miami, 7 o'clock on ESPN. I would think Miami would kill them, but maybe FSU gets up for this one. Maybe they just say, hey, this is our biggest rival. It really is. I think Miami's a bigger rival than Florida, to be honest with you. And Florida's got way bigger rivals than FSU. Okay. So that game is a 7, as I said, on ESPN. The SEC game of the week for me is Missouri at Alabama, 3:30 on ABC, followed by the national game of the week, which is LSU at Texas A&M, 7:30 on ABC as well. That is the game I like. I'm thinking about trying to get out and play a little golf Saturday or do something just to get out of the house instead of laying here and on my couch for 12 hours. I don't have to do grading the Gators, obviously, this week. So I'm going to try to get out and do some stuff. But I want to be home for that game, LSU at Alabama. I mean, at A&M. And Mizzou, Alabama, I want to see too. And I do want to see FSU. There's a lot of games I want to see. And maybe the games aren't spectacular on surface this week, but they're pretty darn good. All right, so let us move along to our. Oh yeah, I did want to mention this. Noon, Notre Dame at Navy. I'll throw that in there as another national game on ABC. That's a noon game. Notre Dame at Navy could be interesting. Navy's undefeated, so I'm curious to watch the game. I don't know if I'm gonna sit around and watch games. Baseball. You've heard of it. It's still going on. Major League Baseball. The World Series starts Friday, 8:08 on Fox, first pitch, supposedly. And then Saturday, the same way, 8:08. They'll all be at 8:08. But the first two games are in LA. If you didn't know that, you know it now. I figured they were. And then NFL wise, the best game on the weekend to me there's two of them. Atlanta at Tampa Bay on Fox at 1:00, and then Dallas is at San Francisco. That's the night game, 8:20 on NBC. So as you can see, and I didn't even get into a lot of stuff I could talk about here. Oh, I didn't even mention volleyball. Volleyball plays Tennessee. There it is. I got it written down here. Florida volleyball plays Tennessee at home Friday, 7:00. That is on the SEC network. So you're going to get a lot of stuff this weekend. Enjoy it. And this is your last. No, you could have one more weekend of baseball, but maybe your last weekend of baseball, because it'll go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday, Saturday again. I think I'm right about that. So anyway, I think we got it all covered, man. There's a lot to get to, but we appreciate Danny Wuerffel for joining us again. Paul Feinbaum will join us next Thursday. Coach Spurrier on Monday. Thanks to Zach for doing a great job of dealing with me. And until next time, I am Pat Dooley, and I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.